Hello, I'm Tadas with Insomniac Next Door. If you have done a castor liver oil pack and developed some symptoms, some side effects, this video is for you. Perhaps you saw my previous video where I was hoping to improve my sleep by doing them, enhancing liver function at night, and I developed some strange reactions. I started waking up way too early, like around 4 and then 5, and daytime I had this shortness of breath and this pressure in my liver area, and then of course I had to try it on my mother. And she fell asleep with the first liver pack, and she woke up with nasty headache that lasted all day next day. And also I have a friend with autoimmune condition, something similar that I'm dealing with, and he said there's no way I'm doing that thing again. And I'll talk about it more as we go along, as far as why it may not be a good idea if you have some certain health conditions. In any case, it made me question, how is this even possible? Like, such an innocent, seems like a remedy, some oil that you just put on yourself, and how can you develop such a strong reaction to it? I mean, it's like I have to gain some humble respect towards it. And of course, because we develop a reaction, we might get scared and back off, and that could be a mistake, because eventually, as I'll explore in this video, it could be of a lot of benefit. And it is said that even a small amount of poison can be medicine, and a lot of medicine can be poison, right? And speaking of poison, did you know that this castor plant is like one of the most toxic plants on this planet? In Europe, we actually call it ricinus oil, or ricinus, by its Latin name. And it's not a coincidence, of course, that castor nutshells are a source of toxic substance called ricin. Now, luckily, the way the oil is prepared, it is filtered out of any potential ricin residue. But nevertheless, this is a good reminder about the awesome nature of this intriguing plant. Now, and why did I get intrigued with this, right? And then I study a lot of like Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, and it's mentioned there in various different therapies that made me question, of course, how long does it span back, and it goes all the way to like Bible and Egyptian times, And there are various claims of systemic benefits of this plant, but what interests me the most are, improving sleep. Because there are many accounts of people reporting significant improvement in sleeping quality, and that they're sleeping through the night, running to the toilet less, reducing inflammation. That's huge, right? And treating liver stagnation, improving digestion, and boosting immunity, and not always a good thing, as we'll talk a bit later. And of course, it helps to tip the body towards the parasympathetic, so towards the restful, towards less agitated state by they say producing more oxytocin and dopamine. So some claim castor oil produces glutathione, or helps generate glutathione, which is our natural in our body's antioxidant. However, I scoured through studies and experiments, and I don't see anywhere any proof that it boosts glutathione, other than some silly rat lens study where they put rat lenses in glutathione and apparently preserve them or something like that. But there's not a lot of studies that I found as far as glutathione, unfortunately, which would have been nice, So there are a ton of intriguing benefits out there, but let's talk about side effects. This is what it's all about, right? So based even on my own experience, it can definitely activate the nervous system and stir up immune reactions. I felt, put a strain on the heart and tighten up the liver. And during the daytime, I would get all emotional and a bit agitated, which I know it's the way just kind of this chi flows through the liver that gets activated. And since I got sensitive to sound and light, which is, again, shows that there's extra stress on your nervous system. And as I mentioned, my mother also developed a headache, which is often known as a Herx reaction or a detox reaction. And I also have a buddy, like I mentioned, and it flared up his autoimmunity, and he feels that it's not a good idea, especially because, if you're dealing with autoimmunity, your immunity is already overactive. It's attacking things it shouldn't be attacking. So he felt this is not a remedy for him, not even like in the long term for now. So I did more digging later, and it appears a lot of people develop insomnia and sleep issues, like disturbed sleep, that what I develop. But why does this happen? How does this happen? That's the question, right? And one of the things I always do before starting out with any therapies or herb is to check their properties in the TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, or Ayurveda. That's because both of these ancient healing traditions have a lot deeper insights about botanical compounds and their energetic properties especially, right? So in Ayurveda, it is said that the purpose of castor oil is to get the body's function going. And in TCM is to move stagnation and remove dampness, which is basically just like sluggishness of everything, just kind of damp environment, right? And these claims potentially point towards the clue of our answer as to why does this happen. And number one clue is that it's a natural immunity booster, right? It is said to increase the count of T11 cells, or the production of lymphocytes in the blood within hours of application of the compress. Now, normally this is great because it pushes the body's limit to produce more antibodies, such that it can fight viruses, fungi, bacteria, even cancer cells. However, my buddy's example, with those with autoimmunity and chronic inflammation, can actually stimulate their immunity even more, and that's not always a good thing when our immunity is already freaking out. It's attacking the body, and you don't want to make things worse. Number two, it's kind of like muddy water. It stirs up stagnation. Now, castor oil, even when applied topically, is said to stimulate gallbladder to dump bile. If we have liver or gallbladder diseases, gut dysbiosis, low bile, some stomach acid issues, then a sudden increase in bile function just basically stirs everything up and releases into the systemic circulation. Research shows our bile can actually carry toxins that are produced inside our body, endotoxins. It is very possible, I think, that the bile carries all these byproducts of inflammation into our gut and recirculate via the so-called enterohepatic system. So this is where we have to be careful. People who have significant toxicity and slow drainage, you can go back into the video that I talked about before, and the so-called slow detox pathways can get into trouble here. Because if their detox organs are not optimally functioning, they can push themselves into a Herx reaction because they're not properly draining the toxins that they're releasing. As a result, this can temporarily stir up inflammation, food sensitivities, raise your even cortisol levels. This can increase your total body burden, or the so-called sensitivities bucket, and make any underlying conditions worse. Now, number three reason why we could develop a side effect is genetics, which is related to my previous point. And as you see from this study on genetic biomarkers of metabolic detoxification, it says the genetic variability and dietary factors may affect the function of detox enzymes, and thus impacting the body's sensitivity in toxic substances of endogenous and exogenous origin. So basically, genetic variances, environmental toxins, and other interferences can either slow or speed up the liver phases, lower glutathione production, suppress enzyme activity, and your overall ability to process the toxic burden that was unleashed by this powerful remedy. Now, with this, I want to offer some humble advice. And it's not a medical advice, so please, if you have a good doctor, consult with them. and whatever you're planning on doing, or what you're hearing generally in my videos anyways. But number one reason and the number one way of avoiding the side effects is to start very, very slow. Remember in my video I did it for like 20 minutes and I developed a reaction. 20 minutes I developed a reaction. In fact, Ayurveda usually recommends like 10, 15, 20 minutes first. And what do you hear online? Start with an hour. Oh no, I sleep with one overnight. It's fine. I feel great, and so on and so on. Most advice, if not all advice online, is just way not appropriate for beginners, especially the ones with long, chronic, debilitating conditions that have been going on for a long time. If you get a reaction, stop, like I did. You have to allow the body catch up. I wouldn't do it like every day, like they suggest online. So you have to make sure that you kind of take it slow, a lot slow, very slow. Others recommend mostly do it in the evening. They say it's very relaxing before sleep. You know what? I learned, do it in the morning. Like, be smart. If you develop a reaction, you have all throughout the day of allowing yourself to deal with it, like for allow it to subside. I mean, you're eating, you're drinking, and so on. Bowel is moving, everything's moving through your system, everything's detoxing faster. Whatever is released will be released, and it will process while you're awake, and you're able to deal with it, rather than at night waking up, too early, or hot and bothered like I did. Next thing is hydrate. Hydrate a lot. Drink a lot of fluids. Dr. Marisol, who is one of the doctors that talks a lot about castor oil liver packs in America, speaks as of like a big discovery, which has been around forever. But she has a lot of practice dealing with this remedy, and also people report various stories. And she said she thinks number one reason for people developing a reaction is that they're not hydrating enough. And usually she says that if you hydrate enough, you will avoid most of the side effects. But I feel that I've experienced that it has to do way more than hydration, because I do hydrate, and I drink these adrenal cocktails and electrolytes and so on. And so it's definitely not just hydration. It's more. It has more to do with the drainage problems, and the ones that I spoke about in my previous video. Now, next advice is experiment with different binders, intestinal binders. Once the things are released into your gut, what I try to do personally is like, I'm thinking about, if toxins are released, I have to catch them, right? Because if you don't, you're going to recirculate them. The bile recirculates 95% of it. So figure out a good timing for you. You can experiment. I'll do another video about binders, because I'm still learning a lot. And every time I think I know something, I learn something new. But binders are great because they add this extra layer of protection against the Herx reaction, and lowering your autoimmunity response and overall body burden. Now, lastly, again, I want to reiterate that if you have a chronic illness, something you've been dealing, something your body is very reactive overall, you have to be very, very disciplined how long you keep the pack on, okay? You see 20 minutes come up, it doesn't matter whether you're very relaxed or you got lazy and sleepy. This is the time to be disciplined and take the pack off after 20 minutes, because it can be very lured into this relaxing state and thinking, look, I'm doing so great, it must be awesome. And then a few hours later, you will develop potentially a reaction. So don't do it. Be wise. Most importantly, listen to your body. Like, especially when you develop symptoms, always tend to them first. Don't ever try to push through or power through, because that only creates more trouble. We have to be wise. The body knows what it's doing, and we have to gently support it with these things rather than try to, smack it against the head and push it too much. And this is why and how you will eventually develop benefits. I'm glad that I kind of backed off, because if I had gotten scared by my reaction, I would not have discovered and really these full benefits that I'm experiencing right now. Now, I'm dealing with a lot of systemic issues that are chronic, long-term. My sleep has actually gotten to the level where I'm happy that I'm functioning, and I have way many better nights than before. I'd say 90% of my nights are actually quite good. I wake up rested and happy. So, and the ones that's still 10% is because of my experimentations. And lastly, my fellow insomniacs, it's good to keep a healthy, sober mindset about any of these therapies. Hardly any supplement or therapy out there will be like a push of a button for us that will completely heal us and fix our sleep. What we must do is kind of understand the whole picture, the big picture, how everything works, and include and incorporate small little therapies and supplements here and there, and especially lifestyle that will support our healing problems, that will address the root cause in the first place. And this way, when we get slightly, these healing responses, we don't get scared, and we just keep doing them, because we kind of, doing it carefully. And that's the whole thing, is following the body's wisdom, not our own fixed ideas of what we read in the comment section after some magic supplement out there. I find Castor Liver Oil Packs very promising overall for my healing journey, and I recommend them to everyone right now, just because the way it can really help the liver to digest and process. And liver is the boss. Liver governs everything in our body. It's not the gut, it's the liver that first of all sends the signals downstairs. So good luck. And if you try them, please let me know in the comments. You can always visit the website as well, because I put updates on the article below the video if I learn something new, of course. And I hope you sleep better. I hope you recover. I hope you heal. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.